Welcome. So last episode, the caliphs are closed, and the Russia didn't basically collapse in the same things that happened historically. So there's no difference there. Oh, boo boo bee ba boo ba boo bee oh, the beat don't eat. So they're just gonna expand even more into Central Asia, and this is all what we want to have. Caliphate of Armenia would half of Armenia would they would most likely lose Armenia even with that. But it's not like the Greeks will always keep Armenia. Armenians, especially Albanians, definitely become massive populations of people, massively religiously diverse. I mean, Armenia would be relatively homogeneous, but Albania would be stuck between pagans, Zoroastrians, Muslims, Christians. The problem with the problem breaking into multiple states like Hereti here, the Zoroastrian and the rest of the Emirat of Shirvan. But let's look here. Well, like we're probably going to progress a bunch of centuries. But in these centuries, there was a massive problem in these years. The Italians and the Greeks would definitely have a single war, which wouldn't really destroy their relationship all that much, and it's probably covered with, but it would take centuries to recover. During this war, the Muslims decided to be highly tuned. This is on the and all the African kingdoms. They wanted to be able to march into Iberia, though. But the war would be incredibly devastating as the Franks and the Muslim take over the Western Mediterranean and would leave the Italic Empire as a rump state. So this would really just be an victory, but at what cost? The Muslims wouldn't be able to move into a good army, and and the same thing. But since they wouldn't be able to expand that much into the desert, there would be an alternate Emirat of Cordoba. This would be the Emirat of Tunis. They also have. So, I mean, this is what it would look like, and eventually, over time, Cyrene is taken back by the Greeks. This would separate these two even further. So the Islamic world is now split into what's new? What next? Well, firstly, the Abbasids, even with their Islamic golden age, would decline. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna finish this. This video is definitely being shorter, as I have school today. Very bad. But even then, like, this world is not that different as the carolngian renaissance still happens in this timeline, as you can see. since really the collapse of Roman literature wouldn't happen with literature. I mean, there would probably be sacks, but technology would remain on the same level as it was in 400 years in slow progress, very slowly. And then there's the carolngian renaissance, which will be based on scientific, but also really cultural, mainly languages. This would be a great time for theology. Yeah, I'm using civilization symbols, okay. But with this decline of the Italic Empire, we could see serious problems arise, especially during the time of Charlemagne. Firstly, Charlemagne definitely centralized power. I mean, the, the massive amount of vassal states could also cause him to go war with the Italic Empire, which would basically be a Rome state after its war with the Greek Empire. Along with that, we could see a very goofy campaign where Charlemagne crosses the Straits of Gibraltar in order to liberate Christians, and it now controls this part of Morocco. And yeah, that's basically the main changes in the world, but we still have enough time that I want to use. So let's see that time. Melinda's time could see some major differences, such as maybe some expansion. So the late to the middle period between the late to early to high middle ages would be a great renaissance for both countries. The Greeks would basically settle down. I mean, it's not like they would prosper. Oh yeah, I forgot one of them, the Bulgars. Well, the Greeks would be control this area for a long time. Eventually, they're gonna get out, okay, by the Khazars. The Khazars also would cause the Bulgarians to move in, so the Gothic kingdom gets absolutely destroyed. Along the supplement of the First Bulgarian Empire, the Bulgarians would move in, absolutely destroy Greek troops. This would also happen. This should have happened in the last episode, but yeah, I guess in this time, and maybe they stayed in Crimea, but the Khazars kicked them out, so they launched a revenge operation. They would basically in this timeline, the only guys, the only people that won't be happy with what happened with the Greeks. And I mean, how could you not realize why? They lost a large chunk of the land. Probably they would make a treaty like, you are going to be my semi-vassal. Haha. You're, you're not gonna pay tribute, but we'll only give you Malaysia and Serenia for the Bulgars. Ah. Bulgars most likely would agree as they wouldn't have any problems with it. The Italian Empire, which is most likely would also take over Illyria and the other territories. This would finally allow Italy to have provinces, which, by the way, didn't have. But by this point, decentralization becomes a big thing, especially due to the start of the Viking Age, which would end the Carolngian Renaissance, or this was version of the Renaissance. We don't go. So Italy would split up into many different provinces. The main province would slowly move, but surely would move to Ravenna. But there would be different provinces such as Lingaria, Modena, right? Yada, Slavonia, yeah. So as you can see, the Italian Empire is actually stabilizing in this mini cultural and economic superpower in the middle of the two actual superpowers, the Greek Empire and the Frankish Empire, which within this timeline split into three alternate parts. This will mostly be given to later because I think somebody hated him there. That's why Middle Francia. So this is why this is what's the post Charlemagne world would look like. Firstly, the Iberians would finally be free, as I don't think Loth or Ninja out of all things, even with and a relatively centralized territory movement would be able to survive, would be able to centralize all of them. I mean, like, I mean, yeah, they could just get to. Plus, the fall of Charlemagne within this timeline caused an Islamic area in Novgorod, the rest becoming independent Iberic republics, change, not republics, states, kingdoms. Yes, kingdoms. Kingdom, with Lothar and basically becoming a stupid Mr. Stupidity. The Fatimids in this timeline can't rise, so the Tulunids stay in power and probably some other dynasty rises there. So with that, let's